Oh. Okay, so I got it. When they say I'm gonna put the view here and I'm gonna render a template, right? This atom doesn't matter. Garbage. That atom does not matter. Look at this. Ready? Refreshing this page, 1, 2, 3, and it works fine. That atom doesn't matter. So essentially, I know, right? It's garbaggio. Essentially, right? This is not behaving like you would expect. I was really like trying to find a template, but I don't get why this is called template. Like, why don't you just call it like unnecessary, like ignorable atom or whatever? It's like you have all of the expressivity in the world here. You can do tons of things that would not point someone in a wild goose chase, a rabbit hole, like it did me. I don't know if like calling it template is easier than calling it like this, right? It's like, anyways, so put root layout from router. This essentially means that at some point we'll call put root layout, right? H Phoenix controller put root layout, right? Stores the root layout for rendering. The layout must begin as a keyword list where the key is the request format. That's fine. So my question is, who is calling root layout, right? Because somebody has to be calling root fucking layout. Oh my god, nobody's calling root layout. Guys. Router and plug. Hey Azo, we have 2 Discord servers. One is for the Riot development, where we're talking about like how we build Riot, which is not very active. Like, it's few people, but it's just going very deep into how Riot is built and stuff like that. And then we have the Caravan, and Caravan is a server that a lot of OCaml programmers, the Camel writers, right, here in Twitch, we put together, and we are sort of sharing that. So that one is very lively. There's a ton of people constantly talking. There's a lot of people that know a lot of OCaml and a lot of beginners as well that are getting initiated. And we get notifications from each other's streams, and we, just do this communal experience of writing OCaml in public, which is a lot of fun. So if you're interested in contributing to Riot, I would recommend you to join the first one. And regardless of that, if you want to just hang out with OCaml people, the Caravan is a great place to do that. Oh, no worries. Just thought that maybe you used it and were like, what is this shit? And then, came back later to it. No worries. So I guess we are really just depending on Phoenix here, right? and this is gonna be a billion matches, right? Oh no, not that many. Cool. So let's try that. Phoenix controller, right? And then root layout, right? Put get. Yeah. So somebody has to be calling render with layouts, render and send. Okay, folks, I think we got it. I think here, this layout part, right, is actually being handled by something between, right? Hey, Joy, thank you so much for the follow. Thanks for hanging out here. You're going to hit the sack. Don't worry. Go have a good night's sleep. Very useful. I know I need some of that as well after 12 hours of streaming. Yes, exactly. Get some sleep yourself. We'll do it. Yes. Thanks. Have a good one. Cheers. You're especially interested in OCaml. Try to use Cacti, but it's a bit too esoteric for me. Yeah, I understand. I've used Cacti before as well, and honestly, it's the developer experience is kind of terrible. Um, I feel like a lot of the OCaml ecosystem sometimes puts too much emphasis on like typing things to the extreme, right? And then you have these horrible type errors that are super large, right? When you have to do things just to satisfy the type checker. And in the stack we're building here, we're trying to be more mindful of the developer experience, right? So we will sacrifice some type safety, right? If it means we can get an amazing developer experience. Obviously, it's not like we're just gonna do everything strings or whatever, right? We can't do that. We'll have good type safety, but sometimes we will sacrifice not having like extremely typed things, right? So as far as I understand, OCaml is a project being written by Privan right now. I've been helping with a few things. The main idea is that it will be essentially a socket pool or a connection pool, right? So you'll be able to do something like OCaml, right? I don't know how to capitalize this, right? Essentially execute from anywhere in the app and just put a query here, and that will be a string. Select from users, right? And then this will run, and then you will get essentially a cursor, right? And then you'll be able to do things like cursor, and this will be like a module cursor take like 5, right? And that will take 5 rows, right? And these will be of a type from OCaml like row, like that, or maybe row T. I don't know, something like that. So then it's your responsibility to map this into your own types somehow, right? So depending on what you fetch and so on, right? So the main interface, like the main type, is really just like string, which is the query, and then you get this cursor, right? Which is really kind of like a row list, kind of, not really, but you get what I mean, right? And that type would allow us to build something that is really, really fucking usable, right? From the get-go, you'll be able to be like, all right, I'll just run the query and do the thing, and it will be fine, right? And if you need more safety, then you can use PPX, right, for writing your SQL query, right, with like a DSL that's typed and everything. But the engine of the whole experience will be this, right? And if you need more safety, you can add more things. But if you don't, then you can just use this, right? Because I feel this would be more than enough for a lot of use cases. Maybe that's your use case. Also, like you were like, well, I just want to run a random query, right? And I just want to get the result back. That's it. And then this will be that, right? So most likely, once we have this in place, we will build abstractions on top of this, right? Something like maybe the way of defining a model, right? And I'm just spitballing here, right? But think of it like this. Let's say we have a layer on top that is called like, I don't know, Wawa, right? And you'll do Wawa model, right? And then you'll pass in the fields, and the model will be called something like user. So then you can say like, oh, I want a field, I don't know, of type int, right? And will be the age and the string type, or maybe even the other way around, right? Name, right? String. And this will give you a user model, right? A Wawa T or whatever. And then from this thing, right, you will be able to do Wawa, right? Of row, right? User. And that will be a result, for example, right? You can imagine that. So we could easily build this, right, on top of that. And of course, if you don't want to do that, if this is like too much work or whatever, if we have that library, then we can build more safety. So you can do two types: user, right, and the age int field, like a name string, right, and then we can do a derive macro. So you don't have to even type that. So deriving, right, Wawa, for example, right, and then you get by default, right, this model, right, Wawa model, generated for you, which is the same thing here that you could write by hand, right? But this way of layering things means that we can start with the bare bones, right, and start learning, right, what are the abstractions that work step by step, instead of starting here, right, and just being like, everything will be typed by default and derived from your type definitions, and it's impossible to just not fit into types, right? If you start there, you're fucked. You can't really go back. But if you start here, we can go there. As you can tell, I've been thinking about how to build this as well, right? And as soon as I have something for DBCaml, like as soon as Privan has something for DBCaml that does this correctly, right? I will definitely be playing around with Wawa and trying to build that. Wrote quite a lot of Rust lately, and I want to try OCaml again after a big while without writing any. Agree on the path to get there. Amazing. I'm super happy to hear that. This is literally the path that we've been taking with like the entire stack, right? Like, what's the dumbest thing we can do? We'll do that, and then if we need to, we'll build some things on top, and so on and so forth. And it's been working wonders, to be honest. I mean, like, I've been able to pull up like most of this. The things that we built are on screen right now, right? Maybe there, right? By myself. with collaborators for key pieces, right? It's kind of thanks to the OCaml type gurus that we can take the smoother path now. I don't know. I'm not a type guru, to be honest. Like I would not put myself in that category. And I think one of the problems the gurus have is that they forget that they're, not everybody is a guru. Oh, sorry. What do you mean? Right. I think you're right. I think that they have shown us the limit of what is typable, so we know, like, okay, we don't go there. I fully agree. John Bagmath, I've seen some Scala leave that was kind of like reactive DB ORM. They generated function for tables and its rows, so you could call select by running user ID or something. That would be fun as well. I am not a fan of ORMs. I personally would probably end here, right? Like to me, it would be like you have a row, you have a model, and then you want to grab that model and like that row, whatever that row is, and shove it into a model, right? There's a lot of ways that alone can make working with databases amazing. And on top of that, you can do things like, derive the model from the actual record. You could derive the model from the query as well, right? Kind of. I would say this is more like it's really like a serialization layer, right? Like you want to read from the row into some type. This helps you define that. That's it. Like almost what you get out of this is like a row to user result, right, function, right? Like I would not go as far as saying like, oh, you can do Wawa like find by ID or shit like that, right? So my goal here would be to not map a table to a type. I think that's a bad idea. I think you need to map queries, right? Returns of queries to types. So if you do a select, right, then whatever fields you put here, those are the fields you want to put here, right? Otherwise, you're overfetching constantly. It's just crazy. I don't understand why most ORMs do that. And I had trouble with this in Phoenix and Ecto because I had some tables that had, let's say, a couple dozen columns, right? And some of the columns were heavy, like a thumbnail of an image and stuff like that. And I didn't want to fetch those, right? But by default, what Ecto does is that like, oh, you want to fetch this row? I'll map that table, right, to struct, and I don't want that. I want to be able to say I want this specific data out of this specific query, and that is the type I get out. Believe it or not, that is the typed GraphQL way, quote unquote, right? If you use Rescript and you use the GraphQL tools they built, which are amazing, then when you write a query, it generates a type for that query. So when you call that query, you get a specific type, right, for it. which is super safe because if you change the query, it changes that type, right? And you only get in that type what you need from the query. And I think people forget that we can do the same shit, right? Yeah, exactly. And the other part of this cursor idea, instead of just giving you the results, is that I want to be able to lazily stream a table, right? Exactly, Azo. You can have specific schemas with less fields in Phoenix, but my god, it is just absolute insanity. And not only that, it is not the recommended path, right? They do drop in the docs like, oh, a schema doesn't have to map exactly to a table, but who the fuck does that, right? Nobody does that. Yeah, I'm not a fan of ORMs, honestly. I think they're too much code, honestly, and too much complexity for the value they give you. Really, what you really want is to say, I have a query here, give me a record type for the inputs and a record type for the outputs, right? Done. So then when I write the query, then I can get that. And if you want to do an update, then you can have conventions over that, right? Like if the input is going to be a user. Yeah, exactly. And I think this Wawa thing is definitely just serialization, right? You define the thing that you want to deserialize from the database, right? And then if you give it a row, it will tell you, yeah, that matches or it does not match. That's it. I wrote Wawa because in Quechua means baby. And I'm actually starting to like how it sounds. You get a Wawa model. I don't know. Anyways, this is good stuff. I'm going to cut it. I'm going to save it on the Discord. DBCaml. Also, I have not used Rust SQLX. I play around with Petrol, and I use SQLite crates. Truly was saying SQL, SQL, and data frame APIs are good enough. What do you mean by that? Could you give us some more context? And ORMs like SQL Alchemy can even track what you change in table object. Damn, that's smart. Yeah, I remember using SQL Alchemy back in my Django days, but it's been a while, so I'm sure it's much more potent than it used to be. Um, Honestly, I think that as you're pointing out, there's always like pitfalls, right, with ORMs, because people like build their data models in different ways, and they have different sort of needs in some sense. So I like in this space, I like giving people tools rather than frameworks, right? And an ORM is more of a framework than a library. But yeah, would you like to expand on the SQL and data frame stuff? I would love to learn more about that. Isn't it going to be hard to get this ad hoc type with the absence of ad hoc polymorphism? And I don't. I maybe I missed something. You can have specific schemas with less. No, we read that. So what do you mean by the ad hoc polymorphism thingy? Hey Sergio, how's it going? ¿Todo bien, chango? ¿Qué o no? Oh, well, no, I think it will be fine because you want to generate that type, right? You don't want to find it. So I was actually writing some of the thoughts here on the side. So let's say, for example, right, we have this code here, right? And that code will essentially, this thing, right, will parse this and generate the module, right? Exactly. Like at this level of abstraction, we can have a PPX, and that would expand to something like, I don't know, something like this, right? Just to tempt you a little bit here, right? And by parsing this, right, we'll be able to get that. We might need to do something like maybe annotating age with int, right, and name with string or something like that, because we don't really have access to a schema like we do in GraphQL. Exactly, you have that problem. But mind that this is many, many layers above all of the other libraries that you could be using already, right? So at this point, right, if you either annotate this thing or maybe even at compile time, depend on database, depending on the use case, right? We could do that. And this will be a very nice interface for building things. Because then you could say, okay, I want to call that function, right? That query, select US search by ID, execute, I give the inputs, I get a cursor, I expect just one of them, right? And then I get the result out of the mapping and I get exactly the output type that I expect, right? But this is like so much higher level, right, than what we were discussing earlier. I'll be very happy right now with like two layers below this in safety. Okay, sorry. We're just like running around like crazy and just doing other things. Going back to this, right? We want to be able to add a layout. So for the time being, I'm just going to add a layout here, right? Option. And I don't really like it, but I need to be able to wrap the view, right, in the tag to know what's usable, right, or what will be part of the hot updates, and then I need to be able to wrap it, right, in something. So we'll do layout here, and you have to pass a layout. And a layout is just a component here, so we're going to call layout, right, with content. like that. Perfect. So now we just need to rename it needs to mount, and we will be dandy. And we also want to actually get more things like the connection. Actually, we should probably just take the connection here. That will simplify the interface here, which is great. And that is excellent because we can get rid of that. And we can just say const, right? Oh, we get rid of that entire type. Oh my god, love that. Love it, love it. 49. We'll need to revisit some of the stuff. Just get it to compile now. 178. We'll fix all the logic bugs later. So this is connection really. So we don't need that, and I think that will be that, and that will be this. And mount will take what? It takes an unit. Ba-da-ba-bum. Ooh, this is gonna be a tricky one. I need to pass custom attributes. How are we gonna do custom attributes with this? So whoa. Okay. Whew, that took ages, but it compiled. Holy shit. Okay. I don't know. I think this is probably gonna be terrible. But let's see. Network. I wanna definitely see. I think it worked. Oh my god, look at that. It's a beautiful. We got an ID there and everything. That's a terrible ID. I need to fix that. Um, but we definitely get the actual thing there. That is super cool. It worked. So that's not gonna work at all, right? Which is okay. But we have that, and what else do we have? Like the first payload we sent has everything, just excellent. And I guess we're missing the script. All right, of course, the layout doesn't. We forgot to put the script there, right? Yeah. Just okay. So we refresh, and then we do that, and then we get a socket. Oh, this is starting to look together. Fuck my life. I mean, OCaml is awesome, isn't it? It's just like, I don't understand why anybody writes anything else. No, just kidding. If you want to build Riot locally, I need to create a local switch on OCaml 5x 511. That would be the best option. 510 if you can't install 511. And there is a contributing guideline, by the way, for all the things that you need to pin and stuff. If you want to install from sources, just to try it out and like run tests and stuff like that. But yes, if you find any kinks, I really appreciate if awesome, yeah. yeah, if you find that anything there is broken or something like that, I would really appreciate it if you just like, even if you just open an issue with like, oh, this was broken, then we know to fix it, right? And it would be fine to have like one issue with like a bunch of stuff. That would be okay as well. Amazing. Vinit, that's 13 hours for you, and we're almost getting to where we want to be. Almost, not even close yet, but almost. Yeah, I think we have another 2 hours here or so. I'm good. I'm good. I appreciate though the care. Thank you. So now we can actually go into some of the Sidewinder code, right? Because we have a couple of things here that we maybe don't need anymore. For example, right? We on the first pass, right? We actually want to be able to annotate everything just like we normally do, right? So this component has some information here, like updating handlers, right? That I guess we need to figure out how to handle, right? Because we get the view and we kind of want to call that, but component is not exposed at all, right? But I am super excited that this is working already, right? It is pre-rendering everything. Puts a nice ID there. And I honestly, I think I'm just gonna go from a string into an int 64. And we can just do int 64. Oh, actually, don't even need to do that. I could just do L. So now we will have an actual ID there. I think I want a random ASCII string in the crypto module. Hey, Night Nasser, how's it going? Thanks for the follow. Feel free to drop in chat and say hi. Oh, yeah, Keens, thanks for the follow. Hope you folks are enjoying the stream. ¿Qué hace, vieja? ¿Todo bien, loco? Aquí andamos escribiendo OCaml. Estamos haciendo un stack entero, chavo. Desde abajo, en C, toda la parte de IO asincrónico, hasta arriba. Con WebSockets y haciendo un live view tipo o Hotwire, tipo Laravel o Phoenix. Muy cabeza. Oh, come on, that's not good. Are you sure? This compiled? Char. Let's see. A ver si pegamos un char ahí, a ver qué pasa. Ok, 122 y de abajo tenemos que 60, 50, 48. 47 cae. Ok, entre 48 y el 122. Uf, ok. $48 más income and then bound. It's gonna be 122. 74. Y aquí estoy echando tontín, no sé por qué te seguía, no pasa nada, hija, todo bien. Y me dice, what keyboard are you using, bro? Estoy usando un Apple Magic Keyboard, loco. Que tiene como 5 años ya. Está detonado. No, mentira. Tiene por un año y medio. Si lo hago cagar, estos culiados se me rompen todos los años. Uy, chango, ya llegamos a 8:50. Está loco. Una barbaridad. It's a beautiful. Yo calculo que tendremos que quemar alguno de sus caracteres. ¿Cómo pingo hace en Phoenix? Eso. Random, vamos al 1. Encode. Random encoded bytes. Ah, genio. Ugh, okay, that was the thing. No hacía falta así nada, ¿no? Era literal así. String de 10 caracteres y hacemos base64 encode string. Bingo. Tome. Ta. Nice. Bueno, tenemos la ID ahí perfecta. Tenemos todo el content. Everything that we put there. That's great. Está tremendo. We have a layout. So I'm thinking that what we need to figure out now, right? Ooh, I don't like that. I really don't like that. Is how to actually hook this up post-render, right? Because right now we're rendering directly, and that means we don't have any of the IDs and so on. And my impression is that if we, oh my god, this has been running for ages. If we look at this thing, right, then this will actually have some data IDs here, right? IDs to do this and that and so on. And similarly to how we did in the last version, right? The data sidewinder ID has been defined already, right? Un abrazo, vieja. Cuídate. Jackins. Palabra. No te reconozco en Jackins. ¿Qué pingo de Jackins, Julio? Me suena a que son un Joaquín y no conozco tanto Joaquín, ¿eh? Seguro no es Joaquín Phoenix. Almost like also having trouble creating the OPAM switch, something about IO version conflict. Also, do you want to drop some of those in the general channel in the Riot, OCaml Riot? Jackins? Okay, no Joaquín. ¿Quién soy, che? Da la cara. Da la cara, hija. Si no querés escribir en el chat, todo bien, manda Whisper. El mensaje privado. I am a man who walks alone when I'm walking that dark road, and I was strolling through the park. Hydrate. Ay, me hidrato, padre o madre. Compañere. Pero que nos conocemos, que soy de Tucumán también. Ah, ok, ahí chequeo. Y lo chequeo en público, así. Ah, ok, joya, no hay ningún problema. Flashé que era como un amigo de la infancia o de mi pueblo natal o algo así. Todo tranqui, Jackins. Gracias por mantenerme hidratado. Okay, so we need to think here, right? Fear of the dark. Fear of the dark. Una vez que tenemos la ID, right? Tenemos que agarrar el contenido y como rapearlo para que podamos tener en cada uno de los elementos del DOM, right? La ID que vamos a usar en el futuro para mandar los mensajes, para routear, right? Y por suerte tenemos esa ID acá, right? Ah, pero por ahí no hace falta que todo lo tenga. No, I think somebody has to have it. Bueno. Focus. Come on, Leandro. You can do this. You didn't get this far to give up. Y otras palabras motivacionales vacías. I think I would like that to be this way. Yeah. That makes sense to me. So we're gonna go to trail. We're just gonna request this thing to be a string list, right? For attributes. So the attributes that you're passing there are actually gonna be a different kind of list map. Fun key v, right? And we're just gonna do attribute of key v, right? Format, do build. Fear of the dark. Es más concise, vio. Estamos. Entonces, what's the problem here? I need to call some of this code, right? Here, update handlers. So I could call that. And this is gonna go through all of the handlers, right? Egg Funches, thanks for the follow. I am a man who walks alone. We don't have that, and that should be okay though. So ooh. Great song. The record of the beast. And 66. I lived alone. My mind was blank. So that means if we refresh now, right, we should get IDs on every one of these, right? Which are excellent. Because this should be enough information, right, for us to bind events to this thing, right? And actually send the message over the socket, right? Which we're not sending yet. We're not really doing anything with socket. So this won't work, right? But I think that we already have yeah. We already have some bound things? No, I don't think we do. So we can find SW root, right? And we can find what they need to be bound to. What I like about the Elixir path or way is that some of these things have like a specific, attribute bound. And we're not doing that yet, but I think we should. We should also save, right? Oh, the best. So event and handler, right? And the event will be the name, right? Wait, they don't really have, right? That's crazy. Click. Quote, navigate. Too low. We're gonna go to trail. I'm gonna say when you get an event, you will have the name of the event and a function, right? From an event to that, and that string it's gonna go away eventually. But this is where we are right now. Wherever you are, our maiden's gonna get you, no matter how far. Wherever, whenever you are, our maiden's gonna get you, no matter how far. Ah. Line 70. Sidewinder. Oh, sorry. Sidewinder at 70. And here we'll get a name, right? And a handler. Okay. So that means if we come here, right, we should see also the event that we want, right? Which is great. We can use that to bind things. So with this, I think we should have plenty of things in place. Mm-hmm. Like for example, we should be able to search, right, for the root, right, and then visually find anything that has an ID or an event, right? And if it has an event, then we can bind that event to something, to a handler, and do things with that. So let's see how that goes, because we do have a little bit of JavaScript written through OCaml as well, right? So in our FFI here, we have a DOM module with a bunch of typings and crap like that. And we have Sidewinder here with a live socket. And we want to essentially, right, find... Yo, everyone, how's it going, man? You slept well? There's a bunch of notes for you that we took. We were playing around with the ideas of OCaml, right? And I think there's some interesting things for you to look at. Uh, but we still want to just build the basic thing first, and once we have that, then no, I have not gone to bed yet. We're very close of getting a super super nice improvement over the live views, right? That makes them essentially easy to use in new projects, right? And not just like a hacky thing. Do I look tired? Do you think I look tired? Like a true dev. Never tired. No, I am tired. I am tired. Maybe I don't look it, but I am tired. Someday I will return. I don't really know how this should look, but my guessing is that we want some form of mutation observer, right? Spool. Okay, getting closer there. These things are automatically bound now, right, based on the attributes, which is excellent. And when you click on them, you can see that we're actually sending the IDs. I think the IDs have a little problem. I expected them to be incrementing numbers like here, right? No, they're not. Okay. So the idea of the component here is definitely playing a role. Never mind. That's okay. So we'll have to figure out how to do that nicely. Because we have a lot less boilerplate in the new version, right? It's just like the divs that you care about, really. And I would argue that maybe even the counter doesn't need to do that, right? This can just be like a list of things. I don't know how that would change anything, but I guess it's fine to do that. Never mind. So the only thing we need to figure out here is, right, once we have that and these things are sending events, right, over the socket, just fine. Because right now we have a socket, right, and the socket was opened. So if we go into the endpoint, right, it's essentially this one, Sidewinder socket. But this one is not doing shit, right? And that's kind of okay. Because we kind of want this to be very, very similar, right, to the stuff we have here. And in fact, it will be very similar to the Sidewinder mount socket, right? So like this one. Could probably even grab that entire thing. And bring in the component as well. Because that will be a single component. Fuck, do we need everything here? I think we do. Right, like the basic socket is the same for everything. So it's this one really, right? Okay. I think we've coming to a point where I'm getting very very easily distracted. It's hard to follow through with the idea I have in my head, right? So I think we should probably call it a day here. And it's been a long stream, 14 hours. It's like I need to learn to make shorter streams, to be honest. But I feel like we got pretty far with what we wanted to do, right? We managed to get a very nice way of mounting things. So this will be hidden from you later, but right now it's like you have an endpoint for get, and you have a way of saying, I want to use this layout and I want to use this live component. Hey, Hans. Yeah, I mean, 14 hours in, you're a little late. You're 14 hours too late. And then we have a nice way of actually building, right, the front end part and saying, okay, this is how we're going to connect. This is the socket we're going to connect to, right? And connecting to the socket and setting up Sidewinder on that socket, right? And we'll improve on that as we go on, right? And so I think that's nice that we have it, right? And then we have the socket itself. But before we get into the socket, the actual trail does a bunch of stuff, which is awesome. It takes the layout, it mounts the component the first time. So the first time you go to a website that's powered by this thing, right? It actually will do the first render, right? The first entire render on the back end. So if you don't have a WebSocket or something, it doesn't matter. It's completely fine, right? It will just give you the entire page. So you'll see the page in the initial state there. And I love that, because then after that, we already have everything in place. The events, right, associated as attributes. We have the identifiers for the element within the context of that, right? I don't think we'll need this. I'll see later on how we can disambiguate this better. But we also have a session ID, right? And once that happens, we'll just run a little bit of JavaScript to bind handlers over everything. And then this stuff will just try to send events, right? Which is great. Now, the other part that's missing, the second part, and we'll probably work on that soon, is the Sidewinder socket, right? And here is where we need to come up with a socket that will receive these messages. And these are events that we will understand here, right? And we'll translate those into actions, right? Actions that your layout understands. So your layout can sort of forward and redirect those actions down, right, to the right component and the right page. So I'm really excited about this because I feel like we're not that far away, and we'll be able to get something that is 100% type safe end to end, right? And that would be amazing. Like, no fucking body has like type safe live views right now, right? So that'll be awesome. And yeah, that's kind of it. So yeah, I'm excited. I also haven't been to the bathroom in a little bit, so I'm gonna pick a random streamer, or actually, let's pick a good streamer, right? Let's see who is currently online to raid. I'm gonna put the volume a little low here. So who do we have here? We have Pirate Software, which is like a very large stream and a lot of stuff happening there. We got me, Magatron. I guess we could go make some friends. Lead code grinding. Co-working Friday. Ooh, a UX designer. Interesting. Okay, maybe not so interesting. Me, Magatron. Making a game here. That sounds like it could be fun. Lighting up the game. Flooring Popping. It's let's build stuff. I like that. What are they building? Oh no, JavaScript shit. No, next. Oh, Subcatlin is okay. This is bait, but they were playing Star Trek Fleet Commander. That's what got me. Okay, maybe we'll raid me Magatron and we'll do a little bit of game development. Everybody, thank you so much for today. It's been a lot of fun doing this live with all of you, right? Again, just before we go raid. Wait, how the hell do we do this? Me. Can I even type here? Okay, I guess we'll have to do this all the way. Copy that. Raid. Yeah, before we go raid, remember here's Riot. Leaving a star or something in the repo is super helpful. And also, if you want to help me get this shit done faster, then you can either contribute in some ways, and there's some docs there, but you can also sponsor me. So with that said, let's actually bring the volume up here so we see what's happening. And we're gonna go raid. So everybody behave and have fun. Take care, folks. Cheers.